Hi, I'm Victoria. I'm a child psychiatrist, parent coach, and educator, and I'm also a mum. And I'm doing a series of videos answering some of the questions that parents have posed to me. So, parents who've joined my group or have been on my email list have asked me things, and I like answering them. And this is a really good one. And it's all about how do you do things if it just feels like the household's always tense? Like there's constant tension in the household, the kind of air feels, rife with it. What do you actually do as a parent? How can you decrease some of that tension and release it and make it a more comfortable place to be, kind of a more calm place to be, I guess. So I'll be answering that question. And if you want to ask me something, please do join my group or get onto my email list. I always love to get questions from parents. And if you're on my email list, you will get an email every week, either with a video like this or a blog post or some other interesting information that will hopefully help you on your parenting journey. And of course, in my groups, there's free lives. Come and ask questions. It's a very nice place where we have lovely parents just being together, thinking about parenting in a really positive space. If you're interested to hear about what you can do if the household just feels really tense, please do stay tuned. So the first thing to think about is, are there very clear boundaries? Because one of the things that can create a lot of tension is if it's a bit confusing for the kids. So you might be sort of dishing out rules every day. They might change quite a lot if parents change what the rules are, if they don't agree with each other and they create different rules. Is it actually clear to the kids what the important rules are that really do need to be adhered to? And there's usually not that many, but there has to be some real clarity, because otherwise what you get is a lot of playing parents off each other, or even playing the parent off themselves at different times. If they're a bit in a bit of a better mood, you maybe get more out of them. So you get a lot more kind of requests and questions. Whereas if the boundaries are set and they're just set regardless of whether you're angry or feeling happy, that is just the boundary, then there isn't going to be that constant kind of conversation around whether it can be altered. So that will release some of the tension. So definitely in your mind think, actually, is there clarity? Do I need to set some household rules? Because it's actually a bit confusing for everyone what's going on. And similar things can happen for a current request. So if your child is really desperate to have something or do something and you keep saying no, it's really thinking about that. It's thinking, is that no appropriate? Does it need to be reviewed? Because sometimes kids grow up and start asking for something and automatically often we just go no. But actually, do we need to rethink that and weigh some of the information up? So sometimes delaying that until you can have a think about it is a really good way forward. Or thinking, well, actually, you've asked me, 3 times. We're just not going to be talking about that again. For now, it's a no. We can review it again, and you can set a time. It might be about their age. It might be about when they've achieved something, kind of give them something that you would work towards. I will review that decision when you've managed this, or when actually you're this old, or whatever it is that's basically making you say no to that question right now. So I think putting that in to prevent the recurrent requests, because they can really create a lot of tension and you end up snapping at your kids, and then that dynamic is there, and it's difficult and unpleasant, really. So thinking about the nurture, sometimes you're spending so much time having these really difficult conversations that there isn't the time to have fun, because you're probably answering a request that's been, you've been asked a million times, or you're getting in a bad mood. You just don't feel like having fun with your kids, and you end up sort of straying away from having that very specific family time. So again, it's just important to notice whether you are having fun together as a family, whether you're supporting your child with their specific interests, or whether actually you're just too caught up in the tension, or perhaps in things that are happening outside the family as well, and it's just making it hard to be there, present, and enjoying time with your children. So kind of just weighing that up, is that there, and thinking, how can I find the time to spend some fun with, even if it's quite short, as long as it's regular and they know it's coming and they know that they can rely on it, it's going to do really positive things for your relationships if there are those specific times when they know kids can be with you. And similarly, you might, when you're feeling quite tense all the time, you might not feel like doing any sort of small acts of kindness, because you might be just feeling so fed up with them. But actually stepping over that and finding that energy to do some very small acts of kindness, just giving them a little thing that they like, or making the favourite meal or something like that, it just really helps repair some of that tension. So it is hard because you might not be feeling like it, but it's really worth investing that energy into it. Thinking about the other two now, so the sensitivity, the reality is if you're in that tension all the time, you're probably feeling exhausted, and it becomes really hard to be sensitive to your kids' needs when you are exhausted, tired, angry, and you just kind of shut down. So it's thinking about taking that time away to recuperate, whatever that means. Now, if you do the stuff we've talked about, probably the tension will decrease anyway, but just having that specific time for yourself so you can look after yourself, get enough sleep, get, decent food, make sure you do have some time catching up with people who matter to you, even if it is online or on the phone and whatever it is you can do currently. But it's really thinking about those things and making sure you get some time to yourself, because that will make you more able to be sensitive to your kids and not just reactionary to what they're asking for, what their needs are really. There's a lot of arguments. It can start to feel quite unsafe in the house for kids. Even if there's, no violence or anything like that, and generally the household is a safe household, over time, as you have more and more arguments and they build up, the child can just start to feel like it's not really safe to ask for things. It's not really safe to have discussions, especially when they're a bit older and they're sort of heading towards the teenage years. They become really, really sensitive about whether it's safe to talk about things, ideas. And that's one of the reasons it really helps to set those boundaries. For example, if there are things they can't do now, when will that be reviewed? Because it just creates that feeling of safety. These things will be reviewed, they will happen. It's not just a blanket no. So, really working on that feeling of safety is important. Once you reduce the arguments, that will start to happen, especially when you do add the nurture in. Probably that feeling of safety will return quicker, but really helping a child feel that they can talk about things and you will consider them. The answer might be no, but that doesn't mean they shouldn't discuss them or ask you, and how that asking process works and when you review things will be really helpful to them. So hopefully you found this video helpful. It's meant to be quite practical. As I said, there's always something like this every week. Please do join my mailing list and also the community group. I would really love to see you there.